Tonight's big stories. Retailers cry foul over the Marcos administration's decision to impose a price ceiling on rice at such short notice. Some groups say they will either not comply or stop selling in the meantime.
Finance Secretary Diokno wants a review of the free tuition program for state universities and colleges, calling the measure inefficient and wasteful.
And Gretchen got to sit down with NBA Hall of Famer and Team USA Managing Director Grant Hill about this year's Fiba World Cup and what the team took away from that shock loss to Lithuania.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Gretchen Ho.
And I'm Sean Yao.
Straight on to our top story for tonight. Rice retailers are up in arms over the price ceiling, which is set to take effect tomorrow, September 5. The cap essentially means that they'll be squeezed and will likely not make any money.
The retailers are now appealing to government to be given a few weeks to prepare, since it's not easy to just change prices like that.
Meanwhile, others began selling their stocks before the implementation of the executive order tomorrow. Now, based on the monitoring of the Agriculture Department, 1 kilo of regular milled rice in Metro Manila ranges from 42 to 55 pesos, while the price of well-milled rice goes for 47 to 56 pesos a kilo. But starting tomorrow, Tuesday, the price of regular milled rice should not go over 41 pesos, while well-milled rice should stay under 45 pesos. But just one day before its implementation, small rice retailers are complaining that they will be losing money. They say they cannot source cheap rice to bring down the price of grains to this level.
Sana bigyan nila kami ng ganong bigas na pwede namin ibenta ng 41. Sila mag-supply sa amin. Tutula ko doon, magtitinda ka ng palugi.
Ang tanong po, saan po kami kukuha ng ganong presyo? Wala pang bumababa dito po sa palengke na ganong presyo. Wala naman pong negosyo nagtitinda ng palugi.
Just before he flew to Jakarta, Indonesia for the 43rd ASEAN Nations Summit, President Bongbong Marcos convened representatives from various government agencies to discuss the concerns of the industry. In his departure speech, Marcos defended the cap on rice prices, assuring retailers that the measure is only temporary.
Hanggat maaari, ayaw kong pakialaman ang merkado at pabayaan natin, let the market do its work. Ngunit ay pinapakialaman na ang merkado natin. Kaya't kailangan pumasok ang pamahalaan at ito nga ang aming ginawa, ay tayo ay naglagay ng price ceiling para sa presyo ng bigas.
Beginning tomorrow, the Trade Department will be conducting spot checks at various markets in the country. Those found to be violating the price ceiling may face administrative charges and fines ranging from 5,000 pesos to 1 million pesos. The agency says it will also chase down hoarders and cartels.
Extraordinary yung price surge. Masyadong kakaiba yung pagtaas ng bigas. So, malinaw na malinaw na may mga ebidensya ng hoarding and profiteering and price manipulation. Pero, kailangan imbestigahan, puntahan yung mga bodega, hanapin tong mga to.
Here to discuss the implications of this price ceiling, we have with us, live via Zoom, Grains Retailers Confederation of the Philippines, or GRECON President Frederick D. Good evening, Frederick. Thanks for joining us on the big story tonight.
Yes, good evening.
All right, so 41 pesos for regular milled rice, 45 pesos a kilo for well-milled rice. Tomorrow, the price cap goes into effect. Will you be able to comply?
We will comply, but we will try what we can do. As much as possible, we want to comply the mandate of the government.
Yes, Sir Frederick, matanong ko lang, no? You will try to comply. Do all rice sellers feel the same way? Makakapagbenta po ba sila ng 41 at 45 for the specific types of rice? Kakayanin ba to? Or should we expect na bukas kukonti na lang yung mga bigas sa palengke at sa merkado?
Sa totoo lang, yung mga retailers po, masakit sa loob nila na ibebenta nila yung bigas nilang mahal na ang puhunan sa murang halaga. You know, every retailer will be losing approximately 250 to 300 pesos per caban of rice. Malaking amount po yan. Let's say if you are selling, a retailer can sell 20 sacks a day, so that's almost 6,000 losses a day.
Okay, so 250 to 300 pesos per kaban ang masastand
Opo.
malus ng mga retailers. So ano yung plano ngayon? Have you talked to any of them? Anong plano nila? Titigil ba magbenta yung mga iba? Kasi last week yun yung sinasabi ng mga ibang nakausap namin sa mga dealerships.
Kung wala silang makuhaan na murang well-milled rice at saka regular milled rice, they will start selling those variety. Yung classification of well-milled at regular milled. We can as well just sell premium rice and special rice.
Okay, Sir Frederick, matanong ko lang, ano po ba yung competition natin dun sa cost of regular and well-milled rice? Kasi may nagsasabi po, sapat naman daw yung 41 at saka yung 45. Pero sa katunayan, sa panig po ninyo, magkano po ba yung cost ngayon?
Okay, dito po sa amin, no, I'm talking Eastern Visayas, ang isang kilong bigas po namin dito, yung new harvest, is 48 pesos po per kilo. So kung ibebenta po namin yan ng 45 pesos, we have a 4 pesos na deficit.
Opo, kaya lang nabanggit din po ni Sinag President Rosendo So that the price cap will allow farmers to make a profit. Meron siyang computation na 38 pesos daw ang net income. Tapos meron 2 pesos markup yung farmer to 40 pesos, 1 peso delivery, tapos meron pong 2 peso markup yung yung wholesaler, tapos 2 pesos yung retailer. Saan po nanggaling yung computation ni Sir Rosendo So?
Maybe yung nire-refer po ni Sir Rosendo So, yung last harvest nung April and May na presyo po ng palay. Dito po sa amin ngayon, we are on a harvest. Yung palay po namin is 24 pesos per kilo. Okay, if we are going to dry it, baka ang cost niyan aabot ng 30 pesos per kilo if kung dry yan. Kasi 24 is fresh palay. Okay, so sa isang kilong bigas, 2 kilos ng palay ang kailangan para you will come up a 1 kilo rice.
Kaya po nabanggit yun na 48.
Opo.
Sir Frederick, alam nyo ba before magyari na magkakaroon ng ganitong executive order, itong ang price cap na sinasabi natin, were you informed? Were you consulted? Was there some sort of stakeholder meeting or consultation with the Agriculture Department?
Wala po, ma'am. Nothing.
You've not heard from any members of your federation?
None.
Okay. Hey, sir, you said that you will try to comply to this price cap, pero kung hindi po kaya, ano pong gagawin natin?
Ganito po, pinag-usapan po namin kanina, kasi may abot sa amin na the government will subsidize yung losses namin. Okay, we will wait for that, no? We'll try to sell the rice, yung price ceiling, maybe in a week time. Kung sakaling walang dumating sa amin na ayuda, subsidiya doon sa losses namin, siguro ihinto namin ibenta yung bigas sa ganong halaga.
So kung nagyari yun, Sir Fred, matitira yung premium at saka special rice, di ba? Kasi walang price cap
Ganun na lang,
doon.
yes. Yung premium at saka yung special rice, walang price cap, yes.
So magkano ang bentahan nun? Hindi naman tataas. Let's say mawala yung regular at well-milled rice at matitira na lang sa merkado dahil di na nga kaya ng mga sellers, yung 41 at 45. Magkano naman po ang gagalaw dun sa presyo ng special at premium?
Sa ngayon po, dito sa amin, yung premium rice is ranging from 55 pesos to 58 pesos. If ever mawala ang well-milled rice sa merkado natin, I think yung mga traders, yung mga importers, they might get the chance na baka itaas pa nila uli ang presyo ng bigas. Kasi yun ang naging problema sa atin ngayon eh. natapos po yung harvest natin, we had our milling season, naubos na yung locally billed rice natin, doon na nag-take advantage yung mga importers na iakyat yung presyo ng bigas.
Okay, sir, hindi po ba pwedeng bawiin na lang po yung kita doon sa premium? Kasi hindi naman, wala naman pong price cap yun, no? Yung malulugi po natin doon sa regular at well-milled rice kung sakasakali.
Palagay ko mahirap, Ms. Gretchen, no? Biruin mo, yung malulugi namin sa 1 kilo, 4 to 5 pesos, let's say 5 pesos sa 1 kilo. Paano namin babawiin doon sa premium? Ganito po, Ms. Gretchen. Yung retailers po, yung kita po namin, limited, fixed. If we can earn 2 pesos a kilo, parang ganun lang ang nangyayari sa amin. 2 pesos per kilo sa isang kaban. We can only earn 2 pesos. Hindi tulad sa mga importers at traders, they can earn 300, 400, 500. Depende sa availability ng bigas nila.
Di ba yun nga po yung...
So kami...
Yeah, Sir Fred,
Yes.
yun yung sinusubukan nilang itigil, no, na mag-take advantage nga yung mga rice importers, yung mga traders, yung mga middlemen all together. So, ano po yung nakikita ninyong solution? Kung hindi price cap ang magpapababa sa presyo ng bigas, ano po yung solution na nakikita ninyo since kayo po ang nasa sektor na yan?
Sa tingin ko, itong price cap nila is not even a solution eh. It's not even a solution. Kung gusto nila bababain yung presyo ng bigas sa tingin ko sa ngayon, unahin nila dito sa malalaki. Dapat pati yung mga premium rice, lagyan nila ng price cap. Unahin nila yung malalaki, yung mga importers, traders na maraming stocks, doon sila mag-umpisa ng inventory. Kasi po ang retailers, we only rely on the importers and traders. Kung mahal po yung kuha namin, mahal po namin na ibebenta yan. Kung mura kuha namin, mura namin maibebenta yan.
The president says this measure is temporary. How long do you think you can put up with this policy?
Kaya nga po, ma'am, temporary lang nga. Kami po sa retailing side, siguro hanggang 1 linggo lang kami magtitiis na magpapalugi. Kung sakali man.
So,
If we don't see any other solution, if we don't see any other solution sa gobyerno, siguro hito lang kami ibenta yung well-milled sa regular milled rice.
Do you feel, Sir Fred, na masyadong malaki yung kinikita ng mga importers?
Ma'am, ganito pa ma, sa amin dito, last June, yung presyo ng imported rice na premium was less than 2,000 pesos a kaban, a sack. Ngayon po, ang presyo ng imported rice namin dito na premium, 2,600 pesos. Imagine, in a matter of 2 months, 600 ang tinaas ang isang sakong bigas.
The DTI says tomorrow it will deploy price monitors now to check the markets to make sure everybody's complying. And ngayon, violators will face administrative charges and also fines of minimum 5,000 pesos. It could go as high as 1 million pesos depending on the violation. Meron pang potential to be imprisoned. What kind of impact do you think this might have on the industry?
Pag ganun gawin nila, the more masasaktan yung retailers. Ngayon nga, lugi na nga kami. Paghihigpitan pa kami. Hindi naman sa ayaw namin sumunod, we will follow kung hanggang saan yung makakaya namin.
Sir Frederick, nung Friday, may na-interview yung isang reporter namin na rice seller. Ang sabi niya, bakit sila, or kayo nga, ang kumbaga yung mga dealers, bakit daw kayo yung binibigyan ng price cap? Dapat daw ang biglagyan ng cap ay yung mga middlemen or mga importers at traders. Sang-ayon ba kayo doon?
Yes po, ma'am. Totoo po yan, ma'am. Kasi, yun nga, ma'am, the retailers, we only rely on the importers and traders. Yung SRP, dito na-apply sa amin sa mga retailer. Kaya nga po, pag nakakabili kami ng mahal na bigas, paano po namin susundin yung SRP ng gobyerno? Di ba? Sa palagay ko, doon sila dapat mag-umpisa. Sa mga importers at traders, doon sila maglagay ng price ceiling.
So do you feel misguided itong memo na to? Kumbaga mali yung na-issuehan at napadalahan nitong memo? Executive order.
Siguro. Siguro po, ma'am.
But the importers say mahal na din kasi yung kuha nila sa global market, right? You have countries like India banning exports, tapos may restrictions din sa Vietnam and Thailand. So how do we know for sure na malaki pa rin yung kita nila?
Ma'am, ganito kaya nga I was telling you, yung price dito sa amin from June to this September the first week, yung tinaas nila presyo is 600 pesos. Do you think sa India, sa Vietnam, mostly kasi dito sa amin, ang pumapasok na importers are from Vietnam. Siguro naman hindi ganun kalaki yung tinaas. They took the chance na talagang wala na yung local harvest. They took the chance para po itaas ang presyo ng bigas.
So do you think things will change? Sometime this month, they're expecting, no, Sir Fred, na mag-harvest na nga dito locally. Do you think that will change this?
Just today lang po, ma'am, maraming tumawag po sa akin na rice millers. They are selling their rice, no, at 2,450. That's 48 pesos a kilo. Ngayon na araw po, they want to sell their rice at 2,200 na lang po dahil natatakot din sila. Pero but still, at the price of 2,200 pesos, hindi pa rin yung pasok doon sa price ceiling ng government.
But it has had its effect then.
So
With that.
tomorrow, magkakaalaman na
Oo
lang.
nga, balitaan nyo kami, Frederick
out the
D.
stalls tomorrow.
Grains Retailers Confederation of the
I will.
Philippines President Frederick D. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you din po sa inyo.
Well, it isn't just rice that's getting more expensive. Pump prices are set to go up. It's Tuesday tomorrow. For the 9th straight week, diesel prices will be going up by ₱1 and 20 centavos a liter. Gasoline by 50 centavos a liter and kerosene by ₱1 and 10 centavos a liter. Overall, gas prices have gone up by at least 14 pesos in total this year. Diesel and kerosene by at least 6 pesos. A big-time price hike in LPG also takes effect this month. This coming Friday, 11-kilogram LPG tanks will be more expensive by 73 pesos. More price increases are expected with increased demand in the West as winter approaches.
Mag-order na ako ng LPG.
Kaya
At
nga.
kasi nagpagas na ako ng kotse
Ako
kanina.
mamaya magpapagas.
Ako tapos na, bago pumunta dito.
Medyo kapit talaga
Yeah.
yun.
By
Meanwhile,
midnight tonight.
while all of this is happening, President Bongbong Marcos has finally arrived in Jakarta, Indonesia to attend the 43rd ASEAN Summit. Sa kanyang pre-departure speech, Marcos Jr. said he will continue to promote Philippine interests in the summit. These include a rules-based international order in the South China Sea, strengthening food security, and calling for climate justice. This is Marcos's second ASEAN Summit this year, with the first one held in Indonesia last May. He is there until September 7.
As a founding member, ASEAN has always been closely intertwined with Philippine foreign policy. My administration will continue to ensure that our constructive engagements with ASEAN, our dialogue partners, and stakeholders serve our national interests and the well-being of the Filipino people.
Well, up next, in the Senate, Vice President Sara Duterte is grilled about her use of 433 security personnel in 2022. More details on that when the big story returns. watching the big story here on One News.
If the House panel approved the budget of the Office of the Vice President swiftly with no questions asked, it's a different story over at the Senate. Senators grilled the OVP over some issues, like its use of 433 security personnel in 2022. So for context, the Commission on Audit found that the OVP deployed over 400 security personnel last year. That's 63% of its entire workforce. It is also a 455% jump from the 78 detailed military personnel under former Vice President Leni Robredo. Senator Amy Marcos questioned this figure at a Senate hearing today.
Is there an explanation for such a large number, as has been criticized?
As to the number of VP-SPG personnel, the determination on the number and deployment of VP-SPG personnel is largely dependent on the assessment of the AFP and the PNP.
In an ambush interview, Vice President Sara Duterte also defended their deployment of over 400 security personnel. She clarifies that her office does not use its own funds to pay the security escorts.
Ma'am, wala naman pong nilalabas na perang OVP pampasahod po doon?
Yes, that is correct. The personnel from the Vice President Security and Protection Group all come from the members of the Armed Forces and the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police. The number and the deployment depends on the decision of the AFP and the PNP.
Well, that may be true, but 433.
I wonder what
That's
she's
an
trying
army.
to still be.
I wonder
Yeah,
what she's
that's a
trying
small
to
army.
It's a small
That's
army.
small.
Oo, parang
Some people say it's excessive pa rin.
Baka nga mas malaki pa sa ibang mga battalion sizes ng army yan.
I mean, granted, she is holding down a lot of roles, 3 hats, right? Very important ones. Pero yeah, that's what some of the critics have told us as well, which is
Siyempre, hindi masaya rin
medyo excessive naman.
Hindi masaya si Vice President Duterte na kinukumpara siya kay former Vice President
Oh
Leni
yes,
Robredo.
of course. Because every administration should be judged on their own merit. But again, yeah, questions are being raised in Senate. The OVP had also actually released a strongly worded statement on this earlier. It said comparisons between Vice President Sara Duterte and the security personnel of former vice presidents are absurd and completely lacking basis. The Commission on Audit found no adverse findings on the creation of the Vice Presidential Security and Protection Group. Apart from being the second highest elected official of the country, Vice President Sara Duterte is also the Secretary of the Department of Education, the co-vice chairperson of the NTF-LCAT, and the president of the Southeast Asia Ministers of Education Organization.
Hindi siya spare tire, pero ang dami pa rin ng 433, I
And
think.
who else would you compare it to? I mean, it wouldn't be rational to compare it to the president, right? You
Yes,
have
of
to
course,
compare
different
to the
functions,
previous.
right? Yeah.
It's really normal, di ba? If you take a new job, for sure everyone will compare you to
To
the
the
last
previous
person.
one, yeah.
Human
That's
nature.
There's also some merit in that. But it's not just the OVP security personnel that senators scrutinized in the budget hearing today. They also questioned the office's proposed confidential funds for next year. Let's bring in Yeda Pascual to give us the details. Yeda, what do you have?
Yes, Reg, Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel grilled the OVP over its transfer of some 221 million pesos from the office's contingent funds to its confidential funds in 2022. Vice President Duterte confirmed that such reallocation did happen, but notes that the office followed all requirements for the utilization of the funds. Opposition Senator Risa Hontiveros meanwhile questioned the OVP's proposed 500 million peso confidential funds for 2024. Hontiveros asked which mandates will be supported by these funds, to which Duterte answered that it will be allocated for the quote, safe, secure, and successful implementation of programs of the OVP and its satellite offices. Duterte adds that this will also finance the office's surveillance operations to protect their programs from supposed threats. In the end, the OVP's proposed budget of 2,385 billion peso for 2024 hurdled the Senate committee level, including the controversial confidential funds. Reg?
Thanks for that update, Yeda Pascual.
Meanwhile, the PNP wants the ex-cop involved in the viral road rage incident in Quezon City to return almost 600,000 pesos he received in retirement benefits. The ex-cop Wilfredo Gonzalez received over $500,000 as retirement pay, which he received when he retired in the mandatory retirement age of 56 back in 2016. But in 2006, administrative and criminal charges were filed against him, like grave misconduct and grave abuse, that were still pending when he retired. These were decided only in 2019, and a dismissal order was handed to Gonzalez. The PNP said that soon after, they stopped giving Gonzalez his monthly pension and also ordered Gonzalez to return the benefits he received from 2016 to 2019, since he is technically considered dismissed from service.
We will be taking civil action against him. We have already referred this to our legal, and then civil action will be undertaken against him if he refused to return the amount.
You know, this is why we were a little bit confused when this news first broke about whether or not
he was
retired
or
dismissed.
dismissed.
Ayun pala.
Yes. It's both.
Oo, exactly.
Nag-retire muna siya bago siya na-dismiss.
Oo, and that's important because yun nga, there's implications on his pension, on his ability to carry a gun, right? Was we allowed to carry a gun that day, right?
Yun nga yung thing, no? Parang pinag-uusapan natin, ang init na balita, military and uniformed personnel pension. Ang laki-laki na nag-escalate pa. Tapos maririnig mo, ganito yung nangyayari.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
He's
Even
not
that
helping
other...
the cause.
Correct.
No, he did lose his gun license, his temporarily suspended driver's license, which he may lose also, and the money
that he has to give back. Aray.
Yeah, well, there's a question mark, right? They're asking him to give back, but will he? Is he legally obliged to?
I wonder what the rule or the law on that is. Eh, binabigay yun eh. Diba? Parang,
pero then again, technically dismissed na siya, so he should.
So we'll see what happens with Willie Gonzalez. But other than that, keep calm on the road. Always a good idea.
Wise words. Some updates on that viral road rage incident we're just talking about. Lawyer Raymond Fortun has filed numerous complaints against some QCPD traffic personnel in relation to that altercation. Brian Castillo has the latest. Brian, what did you hear?
That's right, Reg. Attorney Fortun filed multiple complaints against 3 personnel from the QCPD Traffic Sector 4 in relation to their handling of that road rage incident. These 3 police personnel were the ones on duty when Gonzalez brought the cyclist to the precinct after that altercation. Fortun argued that the policemen failed to protect the rights of the cyclist when they did not give him the chance to speak to a lawyer. Fortun also questioned why they did not immediately file charges against Gonzalez despite what happened. The lawyer filed charges of oppression and irregularities in the performance of duties and incompetence against the cops before the People's Law Enforcement Board. The PLEB says they are already investigating the matter. Reg?
All right, thanks for that update, Brian Castillo.
Right, we're going to pause for a quick break, but right after that, Finance Chief Diokno is pushing for a review of the law giving free college education at state universities and colleges. We'll discuss more when the big story returns. Keep it here.
back. You are still watching The Big Story here on One News. They say that education is a basic right, but it's a right that also needs funding. And right now, the Finance Department thinks there's a need to review how free tertiary education is being enacted. Finance Chief Diokno says the current free tuition program is unwieldy, inefficient, and wasteful. Government resources funded by taxpayers' money are by nature finite, he says. His basis for saying so? Well, the rising dropout rate among college students. Data from the Commission on Higher Education shows that a third of college students dropped out of school between 2016 and 2022. It's not clear, though, how many of them are from state universities and colleges. Nevertheless, Diokno says funds should be allocated elsewhere if they're not being used. Republic Act 10931, or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education, provides funding for 116 state universities and colleges. This benefits over 3 million students nationwide who are paying essentially zero tuition fee. Around 18 billion pesos have been allocated for this program this year and 21 billion pesos for next year. Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel thinks Secretary Diokno has a valid point in reserving free education for those who really need it. Pimentel was Senate President when the free tuition law was signed in 2017. But Kabataan Party List Representative Raul Manuel begs to differ, saying education should not be subject to cost cutting. Secretary Diokno is now proposing to have a national exam to qualify for free tuition, where passers of which will be able to attend their college or university of choice, whether SUC or private. To make the program more sustainable, Diokno is also proposing to reduce the number of existing SUCs and to improve the implementation of the K-12 program.
Matagal na naman siyang opposed, si Secretary Diokno.
Exactly. I was just going to say that there's a backstory to this, right? Secretary Diokno has been voicing opposition to this free tuition law since 2017, back when it was still a bill, when he was still Department of Budget Secretary. And at that time, he was already quoted as saying, "Di kaya ng gobyerno yan." As in, it cannot afford it. At that time, he estimated that the bill would cost the taxpayers up to 100 billion pesos.
And not only him, Reg, I believe that other socio-economic or at least finance minister then, Sonny Dominguez, as well as NEDA Secretary Pernia back then, they were also same view as Secretary Diokno. They were opposed to it.
Correct.
For the same reasons.
Yes. Well, they said it could largely benefit non-poor students who make up the bulk of SUCs.
Which is exactly what happened.
The question is, if the economic managers were already opposed to it in the first place, how did it get pushed through, right?
Well, because they don't make the laws, right? That passes through Senate and Congress.
The answer is because it's a populist policy, meaning you're appealing to a
when I was hearing this
voting
piece of
base.
news in the morning, I was listening to Ted Filon and DJ Chacha. Tumaas talagang kilay ko because in the midst of confidential funds amounting to how many hundreds of millions, why are you taking a look at the education sector? Bakit, kumbaga, pinupunteriya mo pa yung scholarship ng mga bata? At a time where we have a learning deficit, the Philippines, and we need employment, and we need
and we're always at the bottom of the rankings.
That's true.
Diba?
Yun nga yung thing eh. I think we have to clear it up. Hindi siya actually scholarship. It's actually free tuition for all in certain state universities and colleges. So hindi siya yung tipong deserving ka, magaling ka mag-aral, masipag ka, disiplinado ka.
Walang exam.
That's a good point.
Yun yung sinasabi rin kanina, walang
it's
exam.
for all.
Tapos marami daw nagda-drop out kasi. Correct. So that's why si Finance Secretary was saying, hindi naman deserving to kasi nagda-drop out
exactly.
eventually.
So Secretary Diokno has always been very pragmatic that way. Of course, he handles money,
But,
right?
but we need to get data on that though.
We do.
Like how many get employed, how many drop out of school.
For all the doubting Thomases out there, in November of last year, actually, Foundation of Economic Freedom member, si Sir Calixto Chiquiamco, he already sounded the alarm on this. Sabi niya, you know what, there should be some reforms done. And out of all the many reforms he could mention, he actually gave special mention to this one, yung UAQTE, Universal Access to Tertiary Education, right? He said hindi daw siya sustainable kasi.
Okay.
because it's not inclusive, which is exactly what they already foresaw back when they were legislating this bill. Right? The triumvirate of Pernia, Sonny Dominguez, and
they're all
Diokno.
very good managers,
They
economic
are.
managers, right?
And they said dito, ito yung magyayari dyan eh. Yung mga hindi masyadong poor, yung mga poorest of the poor, sila yung magbe-benefit. And years later, no, syempre nagka-pandemic rin, that's exactly what they saw.
Yeah.
It was a higher or middle income students that benefit.
Well, Gretchen was asking for data, so I'll give you one data. So, UP in 2018 said it received an additional 60,000 applications for the school year, largely due to the free tuition policy. And when you think about, okay, UP is very hard to get into in the first place. Sino yung best place to
get in?
It's the people who had good education starting from kinder, right? The people who had money, whose parents had money to send their kids to good schools.
And who
Yun
have
ang
money
problema,
for review,
right?
yung mga
And
review
that's why
college.
it's anti-poor daw.
Yeah.
Which
Yun
has
na
a
nga,
valid
parang
point.
dito, yung ginawa na nga natin yung educational system natin ng K-12 eh. Para they can be employable right after that.
I remember back then, nung magkakaroon na ng K-12 under Pinoy's administration, tinapisan nila ng budget yung higher education para ilagay sa younger kids. By the time they get to college, hopefully they have a better chance, right? And according to the FEF, yung suggestion rin nila is gawin na lang scholarship and vouchers so that those that are truly deserving, the lowest 20%, they can go to any school they want. And I think you like that too, diba? Scholarship for the deserving.
Or, a national exam for the scholarship. So you could, filter out who exactly is deserving and who needs it the most. And then also tying it back to our other interview with PLM President Emmanuel Leco, diba? He was telling us,
may utang pa.
May utang pa yung shed sa kanila to the tune of, 350 million pesos plus another 100 or so million pesos. So,
sayang lang yung
It would
oras,
be good
no?
to take a look at that again. Right?
exactly.
And speaking of, mind-boggling discussions, let's go to the world of basketball in the Fiba World Cup.
Of course,
as it
let's not
continues
forget.
this week.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a change of pace. The USA lost
This
to
weekend was
powerhouse
a big
USA, lost to Lithuania. And that was their first loss of the tournament in 10 games, even the 5 exhibition games prior to the FIBA World Cup. I got to speak this morning with Team USA Managing Director Grant Hill about that, as well as how much the game of basketball has evolved. Let's watch this. How's the Philippines so far?
It's been great. Some of the best fans, basketball fans in the world, the passion, the love of the game. So it's only fitting to have the World Cup, 32 countries represented, coming here to crown a champion here in 2023. And I'm just honored to be here with our team and give ourselves a chance to hopefully try to win a gold medal.
You were here 23 years ago. What's changed?
Well, a lot of my fans are older. I've come across a lot of people who said that they either bought my shoes or drank Sprite when they were teenagers or in grade school. People might have aged a bit, as we all do, but the same excitement, the same joy, the same love. It might even be more intense than what it was 23 years ago.
The FIBA World Cup has been a roller coaster ride. You've been on the road for 3 weeks. What has surprised you so far in this tournament?
I think just to expect the unexpected. I think you've seen teams come in that are favorites, teams that a lot of the pundits, expected to move on. And those teams have been eliminated. There have been upsets.
Spain got
eliminated. They were, ranked number one. We had a tough loss the other night against Lithuania.
Speaking of that loss that happened last night, that was your first loss in 10 games. And how has that surprised you? What were your thoughts on that game?
Aside from not getting any sleep last night, no. I think, look, you have to tip your hat to Lithuania. They played great. They played tough. They shot the ball well. They were confident. But I do think we have an opportunity to get better as a result of that game, as crazy as that might sound. And sometimes winning can mask things, and sometimes losing can reveal things.
Yesterday, you were also quoted as saying that teams now are not anymore in awe or in fear of NBA players. Can you expound a little bit on that?
Yeah, I was asked the question just sort of comparing to when I played for the U.S. and USA in 1996 in the Olympics. and we won the gold medal in those Olympic Games. And I think what's happened since then, since the Dream Team in '92, is the game has exploded in popularity. You've had players who've been international players have played now in the NBA, and they've inspired a generation. And now you have a generation of players who feel like, hey, not only can we play with and against the best, but we can beat them.
What was the greatest challenge for you as managing director of Team USA, putting together a team in a league full of superstars?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think first of all it's understanding that the FIBA game is slightly different than the NBA game, and so finding players whose skill sets one would translate well on the FIBA stage was important. And then two, players and personalities that fit and complement one another. Every NBA team that we reached out to about a player, they were so receptive and so excited and thought it would be a great opportunity for their player to be a part of this. They see the value in this experience.
You've had, I think, the privilege to look at basketball from different points of view. As a player, as a managing director, also as an investor. You are co-owner of the Atlanta Hawks. Given how basketball is moving, what does it take to be a high-value player today? I mean, we're trying to get some Filipinos to be able to make it to the NBA, but we always fall short of that. So what would you say we have to build on?
I do have a unique perspective, and I see the game and I work in the game from all these different angles, which, you know, how lucky am I that I have an opportunity to do that? And you do have Jordan Clarkson. I mean, he has Filipino roots, and he's a great player in the NBA, and is certainly proud to represent the Philippines in international
But
competition.
there are also emerging teams like South Sudan, Japan, making it to the Olympics.
It just shows that the game is just continuing to grow. I think there's more upside for basketball, and I think having this World Cup in a country like the Philippines that is this passionate, I think we'll see the benefits of that 5, 10, 15 years down the road. I think it just will continue to grow and blossom. And, look, 30% of the players in the NBA were born outside of the United States. And that's up from 25% just 5 years ago. So it's trending in the direction of becoming and being a global game. And we've come a long way in a short period of time, and we still have a long way to go, but I think we'll get there.
Well, that means more eyeballs for Filipino players.
There you go.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Interesting. How was that?
Well, first of all, I was very much in awe of Grant Hill. I did get to watch him side by side with Michael Jordan when I was young. I don't remember the commercials though, but what amazed me with him was how humble he was.
Yeah.
But also how far he's gotten after his NBA career.
Yeah.
He's now CEO of Hill Ventures, an investment firm. He is a co-owner of the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
He has a huge investment in the Africa Basketball League.
Yeah.
And he is managing director of the USA team. I mean, just all of those roles coming together. And gusto ko sinabi niya na parang expect the unexpected with this FIBA World Cup. They lost to Lithuania by a huge margin yesterday. Lithuania came and prepared for them. We see young teams like South Sudan emerging, Japan getting into the Olympics. Sa NBA, yung first NBA team nila, isa lang yung Amerikano doon. So now we see he's saying that basketball is becoming a global game.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't have the monopoly on it anymore.
That's true. So sinabi niya there's huge upside for basketball, but that means the NBA players have to step up. So ganda nung insight. I wanted to ask more, but the handlers were quite
strict, I'm sure.
Strict. And then they were very particular also about not putting Team USA on a pedestal. Because before, lagi nilang sinasabi na parang when it's NBA, we're world champions. Pero meron ng mga bashers sinasabi, like Noah Lyles, who is a track sprint king back for Team USA, sinabi niya, nag-trend siya dito, na parang world champions? What? I don't see any flags. In the NBA, there are no flags at all. So why do you claim to be world champions? Kaya din, parang si NBA medyo mainit siya.
Right.
To not be portrayed as that. And Team USA.
Fair enough.
Fair enough,
yeah.
because of the trends also in the
Okay,
world,
we're gonna
right?
continue our little
Ah, si
chat,
Maricas.
but we will go on a quick break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here at One News.
Weather this time, though tropical cyclone Hannah has exited the Philippine area of responsibility, Pag-asa is monitoring yet another low-pressure area inside Guar, so expect more rain in the next 24 hours. This LPA was spotted at 870 kilometers east of extreme northern Luzon this afternoon. Well, it's not directly affecting the country, but it is enhancing the southwest monsoon or habagat. Also enhancing the habagat is severe tropical storm Haikui, formerly known as Hannah, which is now at 365 kilometers northwest of Itbayat, Batanes. The trough of Haikui is bringing scattered rain showers and thunderstorms over Batanes, while the trough of the LPA is affecting Cagayan and Isabela. The enhanced southwest monsoon is meanwhile bringing occasional monsoon rains in other parts of Luzon, including Metro Manila.
All right, before we go, time now for our big picture on this Monday night. Yes, full circle tayo ngayong gabi. Here is a photo of the price of well-milled rice, both local and what they call millionaire rice, at the Kamuning Public Market in Quezon City. By tomorrow, regular and well-milled should be priced at 41 and 45 pesos respectively. Now, we can only wait and see whether this will be followed and if regular and well-milled rice will actually still be there on the shelves.
Marunong ba kayo mag-distinguish between well-milled rice and
Regular
premium
no.
rice? Because you can easily put that into the premium category, right? Because that was a point of conversation also.
Talaga, medyo kung hindi ka discerning, madali
Diba?
siyang...
Pwede siyang maano Kasi sa premium, walang limit walang price cap.
So you're saying baka they could mix the regular milled rice into the well-milled
Would you
rice?
know?
Or sell
Would
it
you know
as
I
it
wouldn't
is?
know.
Exactly.
I
That's a
honestly
good one.
wouldn't, but I'm a horrible person to ask.
Basta yung regular, yung may mga bato-bato.
May mga dot-dot, di ba?
Pero yun,
Wag na, mabubuking na tayo dito.
We'll
That's
find
it
out
for the show
tomorrow.
tonight.
we are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.